Hey, so I'm joined by with Will from Chicago Autism Project. Will, I really appreciate you taking the time. Obviously, this is a charity that is very close to my heart, with my daughter being autistic. As part of what Leap Days is about, we want to move away from just giving donations. We want to be able to give more than that, and what we want to do is be able to like spread the word of people that we're passionate about, companies that we're working with and passionate about. And so I'm so grateful that you've got the time to talk for a few minutes today. Perhaps you can start by giving an introduction onto who you are and what Chicago Autism Project is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to be here, James. It's man, it's fantastic to see what you've done and the focus that you have to keep thinking about how do you give back. I mean, you're starting, PondLeap and doing, a lot of different things, but the focus for you is, hey, how do we still give back despite all of what I've taken on and the burden that comes with that? So I applaud you and thanks for having me here and thinking of me and what we're doing. I got into the Chicago Autism Project in 2018. I'm sorry, it started in 2018. I got in about February of 2020. And so I've been here for just over a year. And the main reason I hopped on board were for two reasons, really. One of them being it was close to my heart. I had a speech impediment as a young kid, and I understood how difficult it could be to communicate with others. And so I felt and knew what that felt like. And then the second part is that I really saw the need here in Chicago. We specialize focused on ages 2 to 6, really helping in 3 different ways. We're helping with free diagnostic evaluations, which will help parents who are concerned about their kiddos with developmental delays. From there, the second thing we do is we help fund ABA therapy or other autism therapies, whether that be speech or occupational therapy. PT as well. And then the third thing we do is we want to be a resource for families and parents. And so we're getting back into different events. We have online material that's downloadable and printable workbooks and just community outreach. And the main thing we're looking to build here, our mission goal is to impact families who have someone with autism or it's close to home, and that child may have autism or developmental delays, but really to build a community around that. And that's why I wanted to get involved in what we're doing. There's a huge need. We've already been able to help so many. And that's kind of what we're all about.
Yeah, and so a couple of follow-ups with that. I think one of the biggest things that you like personally as a parent is my wife knew that there's something was wrong, but we got Addie diagnosed and tested at 3, and we were very lucky. But there are so many parents that they think something is wrong, or they kind of parental instinct, they know something is wrong, but they don't get the testing. And I think that's what's great is that like you're offering that for free, and as a parent, I don't look at it as an impediment. I look at it as like, well, that's just part of who Addie is, and but it's so good to know what I'm dealing with, and it's so good to know there is help out there and there is options out there. And so I think that like what I love about you guys is that like you're giving those parents that you weren't wrong. There was something that's like not there, but here's what it is, here's a map to it, and by the way, you got the testing for free. Like that's amazing.
Right. And I think the biggest thing about that too, James, is if you were going to go to Rush or Lori's and sign up for an autism diagnosis or diagnostic evaluation, you'll be put on a waiting list for 12 months to 18 months. We see kind of on average. And our goal is to, not only help financially, but build a partnership with neuropsychologists that can help in diagnosing. So they're obviously pediatric neuropsychologists, but help in those crucial years, which we believe to be, 2 to 5, to really get a diagnosis and start to help. Now we're not trying to, change who the kiddo is or, take something away from, who they are naturally, because there's so much brilliance in someone with autism. I was just was checking out Instagram. there's a kiddo, he's 8 years old, and he's doing paintings that he's selling as NFTs, doing some crypto work with it. And they're just amazing. I mean, it could be Picasso if you switched it out and took the signature off it. So they're doing amazing things, but we're just helping to give them therapy they need to work with some delays or things socially that they may be a little bit behind on.
Yeah, I love that story. Like, you and I have obviously known each other for a while now, but like you, I think the last time we were on, you were telling me stories about like kids you've helped. Like, what is there a favorite story of like a family that you've helped out in the last year, or Chicago Autism has worked with?
We have a couple fantastic stories. I was lucky enough to give out a couple CAP checks these past few weeks because the donations have been incredible. And so there's a little one-off stories here and there where you deliver the check and the family's in awe and in tears and so happy. There's one story that really comes to mind over the rest of them, and that was with a parent here in Chicago. They had received a diagnosis, understood where their child was and his delays. He was not walking, he wasn't talking, he wasn't making eye contact. And they reached out to us and said, this is what you guys are doing here is amazing. We want to get involved with some of your partner organizations or other therapy spaces, and we're not on the right insurance. We don't have the funds to do so. And they were crying in the parking lot being like, I don't know if we can make this work. And because of generous donations, we were able to fund that therapy. Within a month, the kiddo was walking. Within a few months after that, he was making eye contact and talking in full sentences. The mom told us that they were driving home from therapy and they were talking in full sentences and singing different songs. He's even taken it a step further and he's putting out different TikToks. And she said, I never, ever thought that my child would be able to describe their emotions through TikTok, right? Because they couldn't even do that for me just a year ago while talking or just relating to me in different ways. So there's plenty of good out there. And that's just one of many stories that really sticks out to me about the difference we've made. And really the need here in Chicago is there's so many more families that we can touch.
Yeah. And so I love that story, by the way. And I was like, welling up there. I always ask this question to nonprofits when we work with nonprofits, like, what do you need help with? Because the simple answer is donations, right? And like, okay, I think every nonprofit in the world needs donations, but what do you need help with? Like, if anyone listens to this, if anyone watches this, what can they do to help you? And where does that help go?
Yeah, that's a great question. And obviously it's donations. Money moves the needle in a lot of different ways. And at the end of the day, sometimes it just comes down to that. But I think a huge player is brand awareness and understanding who the Chicago Autism Project is and real acceptance around what autism is and understanding. When we first started out, I would reach out to families and say, hey, it sounds like you reached out to us a couple of months ago and you need some help here. They were in awe. They didn't believe that we would just send them a check like that after we heard their story. They didn't realize this resource was available. They didn't know it was possible. And so just really, and this is what I tell members of my team, this is what I tell members of my board, I say, you could be extremely valuable if you just think about it this way. If each one can reach one, if each one of you can think of one person in your life who has been affected by autism, who's gone through it, and be able to relate this story to them, really able to relate this resource to them, that can move mountains, because that's how we went from nothing to something. And that's how we're continuing to grow like a weed, because there is such a need there, but people just aren't aware of it. And so just having that brand recognition and saying, hey, I know of a place, the Chicago Autism Project, and have it be on your list as the thing you think of when you think of autism in Chicago.
I love it. And so as simple as this might seem, is it a case that they go to Chicago Autism Project website and make a donation there? If there are questions, or if they wanted to get involved in other ways, would it be just a case of to message and communicate with you, or how would you want that?
Yeah, everything's there on the website. We're doing a little bit of a facelift on the website. We're changing a few things, but as of now, There's a donation button up in the corner. You could sign up for the newsletter down below. And then if you want to click and say, hey, I want to be a part of this board, or I want to reach out as a volunteer just to connect, anything that you do there would come straight to me and I'd see that in my inbox. So that's an easy way to reach out. I'm also available on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn's kind of the way to go. You can see everything about me, everything about the project. Will McNamara is obviously my name that you can find and easily search there. And I'd be happy to open up a conversation. Some of the most good and, the biggest impact we've made has come from, hey, I heard this guy has a kid with autism, would want to talk to you. And we've absolutely, blown things out of the water just in one little conversation. And James, you kind of know as a sales guy, where a conversation can lead when you're building a business, and, just kind of, pitching the good that you do and really going from there.
Yeah, I love it. And Will and I are connected. So if anyone that's listening on this, feel free to connect with him. After this video, you will be able to see the link to the Chicago Autism Project as well. And I think the thing is that you said about volunteering, board, donations, people always get well, I don't have any money, or I don't have enough. Think about what Will said, and the impact that can happen to these children. Their lives can drastically change if they're able to communicate, if they're able to walk, if they're able to have eye contact, and to the parents that are able to know what the challenges they face. And so a donation doesn't have to be a big amount of money, right? It can be a couple of dollars, correct me if I'm wrong, and a volunteer doesn't have to be we have to give up a significant period of time. It could be simply giving up a few minutes of time just to talk to people, or if you're having dinner or having a conversation with someone that you think might benefit from this charity or might be able to sponsor, those little things all add up, right? So anything helps.
No, you're absolutely right. And it really just comes organically in conversation and saying, hey, here's what we do, and here's how we do it, and here's the difference that we make. Through a friend of a friend connect on LinkedIn, I was able to chat with him today, and he said, hey, I love what you guys are doing. Send me the donation link. And that's honestly, you think about that small conversation and how that relates to making a meaningful impact, lifelong impact. And it's not only those conversations I'm having right now for the immediate, but I've even had friends that work at organizations in wholesale and packaging, and they're employing, people with autism, right? Yep. So what we're doing is we want to build a community where it is outside of it. We start with 2 to 5, 2 to 6. It expands to, say 7 to 12, and then all the way to my buddy I was talking to. He runs an organization. They're employing anywhere from age 19 to 27 with developmental delays. It could include autism, but just building an entire life around acceptance and understanding in ways that those with autism can come through us, get the help that they need, and build a sustainable life.
I love it. I love it. I love everything you do. This was great. Anyone that's listening or watching this, feel free to reach out to Will or go on Chicago Autism Project and keep up the good work, Will. Thank you so much.
Thanks, James. Thanks for having me on.